Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice dumpola party on Saturday morning over here. My head is absolutely disgusting, so I'll just show you right there. I scared the shit out of some people this morning when I went outside for the first time in like 5 days since I got my surgery, so I'll scare you as well. And now let's go scare each other with the price action. No, just kidding. We've been looking for this. Obviously, we've now hit one of the targets that we're looking for actually coming into early next week, already over on Saturday. So how does that kind of change the picture, if at all, coming into next week? And without saying anything else, oh yes, I do want to once again show my Instagram. I've been doing a lot of content over there, both trading related and also other stuff as well. So you may or may not be interested in stuff like that. I've also been doing like AMAs as well, which I'll probably do one today or tomorrow, just because market updates on on that sort of a venue are just really easy to do when there's not like a whole hell of a lot of new things to be speaking about to do a full on YouTube video, but there's still just general chit chat to be had. Anyways, let's just jump into it right now. I want to waste no more time, and let's start it off with CME, because CME already closed the weekly on Friday. And how does this influence things to come? Well, CME did close below the ever highly esteemed 200 moving average on the weekly, which is that white moving average right here. And so that whole meme has been destroyed, as we said was likely, which is like Bitcoin has never closed below the 200 simple. This is the buying opportunity of a lifetime. It's like, obviously fucking not, man. At some point, yeah, it's going to be broken. Moving averages, ranges, support and resistance, they're all made to be broken, of course. And this is no different right here on volume, I should add, nonetheless. So what does this essentially imply to go forwards here? Basically, as long as Bitcoin's below it, which is about 22,500, maybe, if you want to be super lenient, 23,000 bucks, pressure remains to the downside, we'll say, to put it lightly. Yeah, that'll be a nice way of putting it. Meaning that any sort of a bounce towards that region very likely is just that, a bounce before further downside targets do get initiated. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I want to talk about the shorter term timeframes for Bitcoin over here. As on CME specifically, I believe we were looking at this. Yeah, we were looking at this as a descending triangle yesterday that did have a targeted breakdown somewhere into the mid $18,000 region. We're kind of already seeing that already on spot price action. So seeing as CME isn't trading over the weekend, so it hasn't actually done this move as well, we're probably going to see it do something similar, maybe a little bit lower as well coming into next week. Even hit the potentially even hit the bottom side of this blue box over here as well. Also in the short term timeframes, we do see ever so slightly positive funding rates, but anytime that we have seen funding rates that are opposite of the dominant trend, in this case dominant trend is down, funding rates are ever so slightly up, it's been a really consistent indicator and actually just getting the start of the dumpola parties for what it's worth. We're also seeing the global open interest reset to the levels that we've been speaking about. So all the people who are talking shit, saying the what was it, the open interest flush, yeah, I mean, it actually happened. So there we go. Vindication is good. Anyways, I need to get off that topic because that is just well, who cares? Neither here nor there. But yeah, I do believe that it does go lower before we have a nice little base being set yet again to work off of. Anyways, without getting too deep into that or lost in that, let's go back on over here. Let's go into spot price action. And yes, that descending triangle, the targeted move off that, the measure move off that, a little bit lower, actually a little bit in the deeper end of the $18,000 region, got closer to like 18,200 or so. But ultimately, I do expect this move to, probably continue into next week, Monday, Tuesday, that is. On top of that, we do see shorter term time frame BBWP expanding still. So I expect this to hit another extreme actually, which likely implies that based off of our momentum oscillators, of which we got another drive of hidden bearish divergence over here, more downside is more likely. 4-hour jewel also downside angled, and if we go reference our 4-hour stochastic momentum oscillator, it will be pivoted around 19,500. So in this case, I do think that as on the short-term time frames I have over here, 19,500, or if you want to be super exact, more like 19,600, going to be a short-term time frame range high. That is to say that as long as Bitcoin's below there, I do essentially look for, I'm basically looking at that as a range high before trading sideways and probably trying another downside move. Now, this as always comes with an invalidation. What happens if I'm massively wrong? This is a massive bear trap, and Bitcoin's going to bulldoze its green dildos up to the heavens and beyond. Well, at minimum, we need to see Bitcoin close at minimum, like minimum hourly back above the breakdown level here, which was about 20,200. Preferably, even a 4-hour would be much better than that. Let alone a higher term time frame. But yeah, that'll probably do the job in this case. And at that point, yeah, probably looking at a run back up somewhere around 22 to 23, and then we'll come back to it after that and see and assess what's kind of changed over here. Anyways, other than that, I did want to follow up on this chart over here as well, because this one has been giving us the downside buys alongside these targets. And it is, of course, everyone's favorite chart, right? The daily stochastic momentum versus BBWP volatility chart, of which I'll go through the explanation again. Basically, anytime that we've seen daily BBWP, which is a volatility indicator measuring the dispersion of returns, get below 10 percentile, the expansion phase from those extreme lows has led to an average move about 23.63%. There's been a lot of variance in those moves, though, where we have seen moves, as great as even 40% a couple times in Bitcoin's history over the past few years here. So in this case, obviously, we said that this was likely yesterday. Bitcoin probably goes for the greater end of that, seeing as we did have much lower volatility levels for longer. I mean, it's not that they're lower. I mean, they like 0 percentile, right? But they're lower for longer is what I'm trying to say. So they're comparable to some of the more extremes that we've seen back and over here, of which those have been, bigger moves, so to speak. And in this case, if we were to just kind of shave off 40% from that high, where things started to expand, where does that put Bitcoin? Basically around the mid $18,000 region, which again, we can get wicks lower, somewhere around 18,000 bucks as well. I also do believe that there is a CME gap over here. Yeah, right around 18.5. So anywhere between about 18, let's just call it 18,000 bucks, give or take 500, just because who knows where a wick lands in one of these stray situations. Is kind of where I'd be looking for on this. And then also of great interest is two other things. The average days that we have observed in the past for this move to play out has been 13 or just above 13 days. This move started on June the 6th. So we are actually 12 days now, just at 12 days from the expansion time of that. Obviously, CME is not trading over the weekend. So while it is very much comparable here, I do think that this move very likely tries again coming into early next week. So perhaps over the weekend, it might continue from here. It might trade a little bit sideways, but ultimately what I feel a lot more confident saying is that next week, Monday, Tuesday, especially Tuesday, probably do see a continuation move here. Why Tuesday? Well, in my experience in traditional markets, when you get a long weekend, which we have a long weekend right now, it's a 3-day weekend for US markets. I know that sounds silly because America just runs the whole fucking world. You stupid Krown. Don't you know there's other countries? I don't know why I did that in the redneck voice. It'd obviously be like a posh British voice. Like, don't you know, Krown, there are other countries in the world. Yeah, well, they don't fucking matter as much, huh? Sorry. Just kidding, okay? It's just a bad attempt at humor, all right? That's it, okay? You can make fun of my head, all right? It's all good. Anyways, my point is that when you see, what is, technically the world leader as of right now in terms of currency, as it is the dominant currency, the dollar, that is, the U.S. markets do get to run things typically. And when you do get a 3-day weekend, in my experience in traditional markets, if you sell off on the Friday leading into that weekend, then typically what happens is over the weekend, all of the news and media stories start coming out. People start freaking out. They start reading about Three Arrows Capital and okay, I've been reading about that story. It's absolutely insane. Celsius, all these things, it doesn't even matter. And then they start freaking out, right? And because they can't trade over the weekend because U.S. markets are closed, what do? They freak out, and then they represent that freak out by, capitulating typically on open, which would be Tuesday in this case, where futures open up Monday. And I think actually CME will trade Monday as well. But still, look, this is trading with traditional markets, obviously. It's funny to me that people put so much weight on 3AC and Celsius and all these other things when it's like to totally discount that Bitcoin has not been, and crypto has not been correlated to traditional markets, which have been doing basically the same thing this whole fucking time. I mean, maybe I'm missing some over here. Anyways, perhaps I am. Definitely possible. Let me know in the comment section below, of course. Anyways, in this case, the average days, I do think it's going to be probably on the upper end of that. So I do think it's reasonable to say that we probably do see this move continue into next week and probably find, something resembling a short-term low, not a reversal. I wouldn't certainly not call that as of right now or anytime soon. Maybe around like mid to end of next week. Anyways, to put it bluntly, as long as this condition is met over here, pressure remains to the downside. Downside targets still, very likely get met somewhere, maybe even as low as $17,500 before a nice little try for a bounce, which is the daily stochastic momentum oscillator on CME being below 23,600, basically 700 in this case. Now, because CME is not trading over the weekend, we could use spot price action to get a bias on how extreme things are, and it would be showing a pivot at 19,200. So something to keep in mind as well for maybe a little bit of a short-term try for a bounce. But ultimately, 19.6 basically is the short-term time frame range highs. So as long as Bitcoin's below there, just it doesn't really mean anything for higher term time frames. Obviously, risk remains to the downside, again, to put it bluntly. Anyways, we are 10 minutes into this video. Is there anything else I don't want to be saying about this? No, I think that's just about it. And then also kind of judging the end of this move, and also kind of on the side that says, hey, I don't think that we've seen it just yet, is daily BBWP. At minimum, I need to see the moving average get below the BBWP itself. And obviously CME is not trading over the weekend, but you can see that it's still got at least another day before it kind of meets up with that. If we go and reference spot price action, they are almost there. The moving average is about half a percentile lower than where the BBWP is itself. So we probably do start to see that, happen around like Tuesday, Wednesday or so. So something to keep an eye on if you're trying to time something like this. Until then, risk remains to the downside. I still think downside targets probably get further met over here. And longer term, which we're not talking about on this video right now, I do think that it's relevant, as we expressed yesterday on this chart, to entertain much greater downside targets. But we won't talk about that on this particular video. We'll get to that on tomorrow's video, actually. Talk about some fun stuff over there. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to leave off. I just want to remind everyone as well that I uploaded a video earlier this week titled something like how to actually make money leverage trading on, I believe, BitGet. That video is literally a step-by-step tutorial on how to create a trading plan. We even go over like a very basic one, test that trading plan, and then apply that trading plan. What I think is the most important thing to be speaking about, whether you're trading on leverage, whether you're trading on spot, doesn't matter. If you haven't already done this, I just don't think that trading is, at least in my experience, wise. Again, I'm not trying to be your dad here, but I do think that in these sort of particular situations, now that things are not just, or they haven't been straight fucking up, this is, at least in my experience, the only way that I've found to actually make a living out of using these sort of tools, or any sort of tools for that matter, and putting them into a working plan. So I go through about a 20-minute example of that for you over there. If you happen to give a fuck, if you don't, that's all good as well. But that video is there for you, as well as a link to BitGet, actually, which is an exchange that I've been working with. Of course, full disclosure, I am working with them, so this is not unbiased, obviously. But they do have a link, which I believe I have in the description below as well, that does give I think it's a 10% deposit bonus and 15% reduction in trading fees for anyone who signs up in like the next week or so, and it'll be applied at the end of next week, I believe. Anyways, that's enough shilling for right now. The main thing is Instagram, obviously, because that's just an easier place to kind of keep up with. I'll be signing off now. I want to wish you well, take care, and see you soon.